As I entered this place, it was an exciting experience. It was an entry to the earth through the space. Space science was exhibited at its best. You could see the whole universe, smell and flavor, its color and fragrance. And then you got into the program proper here. As I reached here, I could see the smiling faces and the future of India through the hands of science. Then, right now, the lamp is burning. That's extremely complex scientific experiment that is going on here. The chief of organizer decided we shall light the lamp. And we are seeing the lamp. But buying that oil, which is either kerosene or gingery oil, C17H35COOH, that is the chemistry of the oil. On that, somebody put cotton wicks, cotton, C6H10O5. So we have to see the chemistry of cotton. And we think that if we put a wick in oil, it will just burn. No. The wick has to absorb. I can't say get wet. It is sorbed. There is sorption, chemisorption, adsorption, absorption. A whole lot of chemical complexes have taken place there. Then the wick became oily. Now you want to light it. That's not an easy job. You need a matchstick. The matchstick contains potassium chlorate and sulfur and a little phosphorus. And that red phosphorus, when you strike, it becomes light. You have to transfer that light into this wick. It's a huge complex chemical reaction that has taken place here. To understand it, this is what thinking is. What we see and what we do not see. We see the beautiful light lamp burning there, but the chemistry behind it, the physics behind it, the ions being created, that's a big job. That's for the scientists to understand. I am sure all students will try to understand this. Another reason for me here to be here, it is just accidental coincidence of serendipity. I find APJ Kalam, with whom I have the privilege of working. So 2 letters from his APJ, and I have CV Raman to my left. I put Raman also there, it becomes APJ Raman. That's the only reason I have to be with them, except that I was with Kalam on certain experiments. Then I found Dr. Homi Baba, from whom I was the last to take certificate of graduation from Homi Baba in 1965. Next, he passed away. So when I went through this, I could see Sarabhai, with whom I had the privilege of working. I could find Narlikar, with whom I find a number of people with whom I had the privilege of touching him and talking to them and speaking to them. That's a big thing. But the most important thing to me is this. When I saw the science drama or the science dance, dancing is very common to atoms. The hydrogen atom, electron and proton, they dance around it. So dancing is the music with which the universe is running. But when I saw this space dance, and Somanath and Shiva with their face masks, I could understand how deeply science has penetrated into the psyche and mind of children. That was beautiful. And for a scientist, it was a moment of great satisfaction. More than that, I had a personal connection with this. When I saw Chandrayaan 2, that was in 1970, Dr. Sarabhai asked me, we are making small rockets. They were called Rohini and Menaka. So just 75 centimeters, and it's of this height. He told me, Dr. Sarabhai told me, take these small baby rockets of ours, take them to Japan and tell them we have a huge mission in space. When I took it there and explained to the scientists in Japan in Expo 70 Osaka, that is 1970, they laughed at us. You pencil boys, and you have such a big ambition. And today we stand on the shoulders of Japan. Japan should look at us in wonder. In 1970, small baby rockets, Rohini and Menaka, where is Chandrayaan 1 and 2, and our mission to the space. Science offers you infinite possibilities. The world of science is something so magical. It's much bigger than the universe through which you have come, which Mumtaz has displayed over here. Now, to get a feel of that, all of you had the privilege. I leave one question to you. Science is a very simple thing. Science helps you to know things and do things. Science helps you to know things and do things. And most of us know things and do things. But many of us know many things, we don't do anything. And we do a lot of things without knowing. This is dangerous. Knowing without doing and doing without knowing is anti-scientific. Science is the balance of knowing and doing things properly. That is what science is. I stop this with a critical question. Science helps you to think. And we are all human beings because we think. And we live only when we think. When we die, we do not think. I think, therefore I am. That is what science is. When you don't think, you are dead, and there is no science in that. There are two ways of thinking, and there are three ways of thinking. You can be a creative thinking like a poet, a novelist, like Tagore. You can think, you can become a great poet, Robert Frost. You can also become a great scientist, like Sir Jayraman, the only Nobel laureate this country has in physics. Now, there is a scientific way of thinking which is different from both. Most of us teach in our classes, you should be a creative thinker. Some of you will tell you, you must become a critical thinker. Shall you be a creative thinker or shall you be a critical thinker? You have to be a thinker. There is no doubt about it. The choice is cruel. The choice is poignant. Either a critical thinker or a creative thinker. But I am going to suggest you have to be a scientific thinker. I will leave one question to the teachers and to the students as a blended experiment for creative, critical thinking and going into the scientific thinking. Just go home and calculate, take a drop of water, then calculate how many atoms are there. It's not given in textbooks. If it's given in textbooks, immediately the answer will come out. The answer will not come out. We have to calculate by critical thinking. One drop of water, how many atoms are there? Just calculate. Then take the next step. In your brain, how many cells are there? Neurons. The number of atoms in that drop of water and the number of neurons on your brain, and find out which is higher and which is shorter. You will come to know some of the finest examples of calculation. Most of us have scientific literacy. We know lots of things, ideas and concepts and innovations. But numeracy, numbers, ability to count. When we count our salary and we find 100 rupees missing, we will know it wonderfully well. But when you count the number of atoms, you don't bother whether it's 100,000 or 10,000. To get into a feeling of numbers, that is called scientific literacy. Multiplying them, dividing them, finding ratios and so on. So scientific literacy and scientific numeracy should be developed together, and that is the scientific approach. And future generation of young students here, the world is waiting for you with advanced literacy skills. All ideas you can get it from ChatGPT, but you have to apply your own mind to that. And always think in terms of numbers. Numbers are very important, including the numbers you get for your examination mark. That decides where you stand or where you will sit in life. Where you will sit in life or where you stand in life depends on the number of marks you carry from your examinations. Be careful, love your marks and acquire as much as you can. All the best.
In Inspector West Zone for selecting Children Welfare Center as the venue for hosting the district level science exhibition. And such science exhibition, it really gives the children an opportunity to explore their talents, at the same time their scientific attitude. If you see the creativity and the innovative ideas that they have exhibited in the science exhibition today is really praiseworthy.
So you're also valuable time you came here, gave your valuable time over here. What did you say about this exhibition, sir, and about Ajay sir, who is the
I am very happy to note the powerful support given by the education executives to this creative activity. Apart from that, children have taken science. It's not from the textbook, it's not from the lectures. Beyond the textbook and the lectures they have gone, given expression to their most creative innermost urges, and we find an exposition of that. That shows this country has a great future in science, and the students have rightly absorbed the right amount, right quality, right quantity of science education, so that we can look forward to a great, bright future.
So after the super success of our space scientists, how far do you think the interest will more increase in science?
very good opportunity to that students in that field also. They all are trying to becoming a scientist. They are just elder scientists here. बच्चे हैं बाद में साइंटिस्ट बनने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. वो एक जो उनका जो है एक्सपीरियंस वो बढ़ता जाएगा, वैसे वैसे वो आगे जाएगा.
Sir, what do you say about?
सर आपने चंद्रयान तक पहुँच गया. आपने एक उदाहरण दे दिया कि एक समय दूसरी कंट्री हंसती थी इंडिया पर और आज इंडिया इतना आगे है. क्या कहेंगे?
ऐसे पहले हम लोग बहुत छोटे से काम किया. अपना रॉकेट्स बहुत छोटा था, रोहिणी मैंने क्या उधर से भी वेंट वेरी फास्ट फॉर ahead the other countries. And today we have a very, very respectable position in space science and space technology. And not only that, space science and technology is used for the welfare of the common man. That is the beauty of Indian space program. It is purely Indian, absolutely Indian, and we have reached with our own inner strength. I think we have that's a model for the world to understand.
अजय सर, आज यहाँ विद्यार्थियों के ज्ञान के लिए विज्ञान का भव्य प्रदर्शन हुआ है उस और बहुत सक्सेसफुल हुआ है. क्या कुछ आप बोलना चाहेंगे?
नहीं, सबसे पहले तो हम अभिनंदन करना चाहेंगे एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट का कि उन्होंने चिल्ड्रन वेलफेयर सेंटर हाई स्कूल को मौका दिया कि जिला स्तरीय विज्ञान प्रदर्शन आयोजन करने का. और ऐसे प्रदर्शन जो हम लोग देखते हैं ये यकीनन बच्चों के लिए बहुत लाभदायक साबित होते हैं, क्योंकि जो बच्चों में अपनी क्रिएटिविटी, इनोवेटिव आइडियाज़ होती है वो अपने एग्जिबिट्स के द्वारा प्रदर्शन करते हैं.